Housewives of Atlanta reunion day. That's exactly what we're going to discuss today. So come in, get comfortable, grab you a coffee, grab you a cocktail, whatever you need to get through this next half hour while we hang out, because we're going to talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16 part 1 reunion. Okay. And then also, I'm not saying that I am like Teresa Caputo, like a psychic or anything over here, but I kind of called it in the fact that next gen LA should be a thing, and seems like it might be happening. We'll talk about that as well. So come on in, get comfy. In the words of Heather Dubrow, everyone come sit down. This is going to be so fun. I would love to also hear about your weekends. Tell me, anything exciting happened? What was the highlight of your weekend? And, give me the peek and pit. Give me all of it. So first things first, Atlanta reunion. We don't like a no-show. And we all knew that, by this point that Britt Eady was not going to be at the reunion. But it's very interesting to see, from a production standpoint, I know that they had to be scrambling and freaking out behind the scenes whenever she's not showing up. I do wish we had gotten a little bit more access to that. I would have loved to have seen like producers scrambling, like Britt's not showing up. Has anyone talked to Britt? Like, when did they find out she's not coming? However, considering now there's a whole legal situation, I don't know that any conversations or anything that were being had in those moments might be of a legal nature now, that they have to hold those. So, but it would have been, interesting just to see how production handled the stress in that moment, because I know it had to be stressful. But it was also interesting to see how they let the women find out. They had Phaedra go to Britt's room and just see that the lights were off. There was not a glam team and so they just kind of let her figure it out. She's not coming. And I also want to say, I love that the fact that these women are like hard in mid glam, like, I mean, full, like, fledged forward in the glam chair, and Portia is napping. I was like, that is such a mood. Like, Portia's like, I've been here, I've done this. I need exactly 39 minutes for glam after we got the makeup done and to get dressed, and y'all tell me what my call time is, So Phaedra goes in, and imagine Portia's confusing. She's taking a nap post or pre-reunion, had a little breakfast already, and then wakes up and finds out Britt's not even coming. So interesting just to watch all of that play out, But in looking back, obviously now we know that Britt, went forward with the lawsuit, which is probably why she didn't go to the reunion. But lawsuit aside, watching the reunion now, I'm like, I feel like Britt probably could have had a somewhat easy day. Because everything else is just kind of messy. And I feel like there's a lot of other things that these women are kind of trying to defend and to discuss. And aside from the Angela and Kelly of it all, I don't think that Britt's reunion day would have been nearly as tough as she thought it was, personally. I'm not saying it would have been easy, but I don't think it would have been as bad as she anticipated. But another thing that was crazy about her not coming is that Portia revealed once she got to set and was talking to Andy that she had just talked to Britt the day before, and that Britt never mentioned not coming. So that, much to my surprise, when a woman decides to not show up, a cast member decides to not show up, I guess wrongfully assume that they are on the outs with everyone on the cast. Like, they're not talking to anyone. Like, no one really knows what's up, kind of in the way that no one knew Britt wasn't showing up until they had Phaedra go look. Like, that's what I thought. No one was talking to Britt. Britt was talking to no one. And apparently that wasn't the case, because she and Portia just talked the day before, and Portia says she never mentioned that she wasn't coming. That's weird. Like, why even get on the phone with someone who is, because that's kind of like, I guess you're friends to be talking, and you don't even mention that? Like, if I were Portia, I would definitely be reevaluating that friendship if she hasn't already, which, considering the gravity of that lawsuit, if she wants to keep nice with Bravo, I most certainly would be reevaluating that friendship, So just very wild. Like, I would love to know at what point Britt decided she wasn't coming, But yeah, just interesting to see it all play out. I liked the way they did it, but I do wish we could have had a little more of a glimpse into, you know, the realization that a cast member was down for the day and out, and how production handles something like that, you know. Also, next topic, Cynthia's hood. Number one, I must have been making memes or took a quick little potty break when this was discussed during the season, because I don't remember it, but I don't know what they're talking about, and I'm coming here to ask for help. Cynthia talks about having a hood, and they gave a little example about like a sailor on a boat or something. I'm wondering if it's female anatomy related, because Andy said he also didn't get it, and Andy, like me, is a very, very gay man. And Cynthia said it's not your thing. I respect that. However, unfortunately, now I'm curious. So, Andy, if you left Atlanta that day with any clarity on the hood situation, please let me know. I would love to know what they were talking about. What are we talking about? Maybe I don't want to know. But if you have any hints, tell me. Also, let's talk about the seating chart again, because when the seating chart came out on reunion day, immediately everyone was like, why is Drew on the end, right? And I loved the newbies this year. Kelly, Angela, you know, Shamea. I loved them coming in. I think there was a great addition of newbies. They were perfect. And so therefore I was excited to see Shamea get first seat. However, watching back this reunion, we're only one of 3 episodes in. There's no way that that Shamea shouldn't have been second seat and Drew been first seat. I think Drew should have been first seat and everyone else should have been just shifted down 1. Kelly should have been on the end, then Angela, Shamea, and Drew, personally. Because I know we're going to get into Portia and Shamea stuff, and so like they're going to be sitting across from each other. But part 1, they were just kind of backing each other up. So it's like they could have been sitting side by side as well. And I felt like Drew, who has a lot to discuss, especially with Portia, they're just talking across everybody. Because Drew's out in the damn parking lot and, you know, Portia's sitting up by Andy. So it's just very weird, kind of. Like watching it, I was like, why is Drew so far down? You know, like she should have been, she was just a huge part of almost every discussion that was being had, you know? So did y'all think that was weird? Like, again, I know it was a very discussed topic when it came out, but watching it back last night, I was like, wow, like it's the first time that I'm watching a reunion that I feel that the seating chart is weird. You know, sometimes when you see the picture, you're like, whatever. But then when you get to watching it, like there's just so much going on, you're not thinking about it. Last night was the first time that I was like, cut, move Drew up, and then let's let's rehash this conversation, you know? Speaking of Drew, look, I don't love a little pre-rehearsed read. I don't love any pre-rehearsed moments. I don't love, you know, little gimmicks and with props and all that stuff. But Drew's line to Portia that Simon says you had no storyline, I yelped. I went, oh, it was so, I thought it was funny. Very well thought out. And if that is along the lines of the reads and comments that we get when these women sit down and pre-rehearse and script things, maybe I ain't against it, because I thought it was hilarious. Also, too, staying on the, you know, Portia and Shamea stuff, what is up with this thing of them talking about Shamea did or did not like introduce or set Portia and Simon up? Very weird. Andy clocked it quickly. He's like, okay, why aren't you're not being honest about it? And now they did roll the footage back because Angela's like, well, you said in Nashville that you did. You said in Nashville that you did. They rolled the footage. It wasn't word for word that she said I introduced them. She said she was there. Like I was there for it. I was her friend. I was in her orbit. I watched it all go down. That type of thing. But clearly there has been some sort of agreement on what to say or not say about Shamea's involvement or lack thereof in Portia and Simon getting together. I don't know why in the world that would be an issue. Like, I don't know why that even has to be a topic of discussion, which therefore underscores why this is so strange. Like, it was just it was like Portia didn't know what to say. Andy's like, you're struggling, not knowing what to say. Like, what's up? And then if you've been on social, because Shamea and Portia were both adamant that Shamea did not introduce them. But then if you've been on Twitter and stuff in the last 24 hours since the reunion aired, people have been digging up old posts where it was like hashtag matchmaker that Shamea had posted or things like that. So, and again, it's all confusing because I feel like I'm trying to get clarity on something that really doesn't matter, but only now that you're being dishonest about it, that it raises questions. Does that make sense? It's just very, I'm confused about that. I don't know the purpose and the origin of all this, like why that was a potential lie and therefore why maybe they decided not to keep up with it. Very weird. Would love to know what you think about that. I'm like every comment's about Portia. We're talking about Portia. Also, I need to get on the Portia and Drew apology because it was like they'd had some back and forth a little bit at the reunion, but then we finally like officially shifted to the Portia and Drew issues as it relates to Ralph and like Portia meeting up with Ralph, because Portia and Shamea went out to eat with Ralph after Portia had been very vocal about being against Drew being on camera with her, I can't even think right now, Dennis. Okay. So Portia didn't like that Drew and Dennis filmed together, yet Portia still went on camera with Ralph, Drew's ex. Okay. And we all said that's messy. That's hateful. Why would you do that? Now, fast forward to the reunion when they have to discuss it, okay? And there's already been a little tension between them. Like I said, they've already discussed a couple things, but we officially shifted the subject, and Portia jumps to apologize to Drew. She says, I'm healing, you're healing. I was coming in like, fighting for my life. So are you. And that she says, obviously, yes, I met up with him to be petty in that moment. I did feel justified, etc. And this is where I say producer Portia has clocked in, okay? And I'm not being shady. I just think that the fact that they were able to go back and forth about some stuff and discuss stuff, but the moment that the topic shifted to what Portia knew, the audience was not aligned with her on what she had done. She was already ready and coming forth with that apology before Drew could even like confront her or hold her accountable for anything. That to me is not genuine whatsoever. That to me is Portia knowing the easiest way to get out of this is before we even discuss it, apologize, take a little bit of blame, and not even get into the nitty gritty of what is going on here. It felt to me like it was like, how can you shut down the hug and wanting to make it all better when she's coming with that positivity, when really I think she was doing that so you couldn't come with your problems. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm crazy, but watching that, I was like, where? Okay, thanks for the hug. Now let's sit back down and discuss it. Like real for real, And even I thought it was hilarious that Angela, you could hear her say, she goes 17 episodes later. It's like, exactly. You wait till the reunion to have this, oh yeah, you're right, you're right. It's like, no, it just feels very like she had her, like, her beat sheet as a producer before she went out there and she's like, okay, I got to do this, hit on this, then move on to this, boom. And it just like, and I appreciated it for Drew. I think that like, hearing Drew say, I really didn't mean I wanted this to be a good season for us. And I believe Portia did too. I just think that there could have been a lot more depth to that conversation and to that moment of alleged clarity and healing. And to me, it felt a little phony, personally. Is that bad to say? I don't know. So sorry. Also, speaking of Angela, girl, I love you. I always will. I think you're the quintessential housewife. I wish we'd had you for 87 seasons before this. But those receipts when you were coming from my girl Phaedra did not land. We did not land the plane. It was turbulence. The wind was blowing, and the pilot had to pull the air. You should have pulled those wheels back up, baby, and said, "I'll try again in a little bit, but this ain't it." She comes with all these receipts of basically saying she knows this guy whose aunt or sister or something went to school with Phaedra's brother. Therefore, that was the connection, like, of Phaedra, like, feeding them information or something. It's like, have you ever been to a small town? I'm an only child, and still there are endless connections that I am not aware of. That does not mean that because you and I had a disagreement that I went and involved all these people to help, And I talked before on a live with y'all about how for Phaedra, it is unfortunate because she will have to prove herself based off history and her track record. But also for Angela, it can look like you're either doing low-hanging fruits. You got to knock it out of the park. And not only did you knock it out of the park, it was a strike. Is that the right terms? Am I even talking the same sport? Field goal, touchdown, foul, I don't know, something. Nothing good. There was no score, no baskets. No baskets were made. The scoreboard did not increase. And it felt, she stood her ground. She was like, that's no coincidence. That's no coincidence. And Phaedra's like, I have 4 siblings in a town of like 3 high schools. There's probably not one person in this room, production or cast, that I don't have some sort of unknown or interesting connection with, Like, that was your chance, baby. And it wasn't there. But listen, you'll still always find me coming and looking for the oak and looking for the shade because I love me some Angela, okay? All right, going to move on to our next topic as we begin to wrap up. I have told y'all that I think Next Gen NYC is Bravo's biggest hit. I said long ago, right after it premiered, I said, mark my words, I can see this becoming a franchise thing. I can see them expanding to LA. I was like, give me, a Maloof kid, give me, the Umansky sisters, like, let's do it. And it seems like that might be a thing because Terry Dubrow was doing an interview with Page 6 recently. And turns out, I think Cynthia originally got the ball rolling because she said that Noel had been like approached about it. Well, when they asked Terry, he all but confirmed and said, you would have to ask Mr. Andy Cohen. But he did also confirm that his son, Nick, who I believe is in school in LA, if I'm not mistaken, was approached to do it. And he said he can't talk about it too much, but seems like the ball is rolling, and I just can't imagine they'd even get this far with it, considering the success of Next Gen NYC. And now that it's already kind of public that they're considering it, that they won't move forward with it. So sign me up. I'm here for it. Give me Next Gen in every housewife city. I'll take Next Gen Salt Lake City in 5 years. Okay, I don't care. I think it's a fabulous concept. I think it's genius, and I want more. So let me know. Would you like to see Next Gen in LA? And do you think Heather and Terry's son would be a good addition? And right now, I'm going to go back and read your comments as we start to wrap up. Angela said, happy Monday. Hi, Angela. Good to see you. Lisa, sup, Christian. She sent me a hi, Lisa. Where are you watching from? Angela, you didn't like the Housewives of Atlanta reunion looks? I thought everybody looked amazing. Lindsay said, hi, everyone. Boop, boop, boop. Bravo. Is this best? Let's see. Did Britt post last night about the reunion? I would be surprised if she did. I'm sure her lawyers have told her no Bravo affiliated post whatsoever, you know? Mel NYC, hey, eyebrows, one day you should do a call-in show and I can call in. You'll say, oops, I've been misgenerating the voice. It's very much giving man. Oh my God. Well, correct me, boo. You correct me. Consider me corrected. I would love a call-in show. Let's do it every day. As in, I'll give you my number and you can call me anytime. No, but I love that idea, for real. I'd love that idea. Producers are on here with me, so let's talk about that after. I would really, really love that. This reunion was so boring, but I think the BravoCon will be amazing. Yes, I agree. And it's funny you say it was boring because I watched this morning because I was out last night, but I did text one of my good friends, Kyle, and I was like, so how's the Atlanta reunion? What are you thinking? And he was like, I'm kind of bored. And I was like, don't say that. Yeah. Interesting to hear you say that too. You know, I'm hoping that wasn't the takeaway for too many people. Your seating arrangements would have been preferred at this reunion. Oh, thank you. You know, maybe one day they'll listen to me. You know, I'm just kidding. Oh, Lord. Let's see. What else did y'all say? Hi, bestie. Hi. Good to see you. Do y'all think that there should be a Next Gen? Who else should be on Next Gen LA if they do one? Give me some names. Oh, Britt actually did literally. I just went to Instagram and Britt literally just posted no Britt, no reunion. Is she watching this live? Because the timing adds up. I didn't mean all that, girl. Lord have mercy. Woo! All right. Well, I'm going to start to wrap up, my angels. I will be back here on Wednesday, and I'll be back on Friday, both at 3 p.m., and we're going to discuss all that's going on. So we've got Miami this week. We've got, a word on the street is that we'll get a Salt Lake City trailer this week. So get your parkas ready. It's going to be a cold one. I'm excited. So anyway, thank y'all so much for coming and talking about our fabulous peaches with me. We still have 2 reunion episodes left in the coming weeks, so we'll be sure to discuss those here on the Mondays as well as everything is coming along. Yasmin says, hey, love from England. Hi, Yasmin. I'm going to come visit you in England, okay? We'll arrange that. All right. I love y'all. I hope your Monday is blessed. I hope your love tanks are overflowing, and I hope that somebody brings you a casserole today, in the words of Vicky. All right. Love y'all. Besos.